What's good with y'all? So today, how the Weeknd Trilogy changed R&B. I don't know how, but I'm curious. I'm really curious. I'm like so curious. Before we get into it, y'all be sure to let this. Y'all, oh my God, it's my bad. Y'all be sure to listen to Atlanta Boy So Full of Life. But let's get into it. Shout out to my boy right there. Excuse me.
R&B in the early 2000s had numerous popular artists who had their own unique spin on what they represented. Later, The Weeknd came along and released a project that would change R&B forever.
Yep.
Trilogy was an album that comprised of The Weeknd's first 3 online mixtapes, with 3 more songs. To understand its significance, you have to vaguely break down its content. It's 2011. Frank Ocean has dropped Nostalgia Ultra, and Lady Gaga arrives at the Grammys in a giant egg cocoon. You suddenly hear this name, The Weeknd, on Drake's blog. Is this a band? What genre is this? Who does it consist of? What's happening? Exactly 2 weeks later, House of Balloons drops on YouTube. This is in an era when blogs had a big influence.
Yeah.
To say the least, people were taken aback. House of Balloons back then was anything but a simple 9-piece album. Varied, without structure, abstract. It contained electronic, experimental, and indie rock elements, and featured samples from a lot of places. But each track's composition never felt overcrowded. This is an introduction to a singer who, primarily using his mixed voice and falsetto, manages to tell you about a world of drugs, sex, and lies. He consistently explains his endless madness to satisfy his desires through various events. It was too explicit an album to be played on radio, but it was more than enough to gain a cult following. Nowadays, you have a billion press interviews and pieces from musicians who are all trying to gain a commercial footing and be more transparent to fans. The Weeknd used his music, and only his music, as his marketing, with no sugarcoating of any situation. And it worked because he was someone who had no regard on judgment and the ability to say what he wanted. Despite the twisted nature of it all, people were captivated by his story. Obscurity was his transparency. His statement from a Reddit AMA interview was clear. Time and freedom of expression were plentiful. 5 months later, and it's an album which has been nominated for a Polaris Prize. And then
Really?
Thursdays dropped.
I didn't
It
know
racks
that.
up 180,000 downloads in one day, which was unheard of numbers for an anonymous Origin sophomore project. It's an album which lacks the cohesion and wow factor House of Balloons had, but continues to present the world introduced earlier in the year. His lyrics are distorted, and the song structure varies significantly. Topics aren't clear, but they're also present at the same time. From a later interview, when we knew his name as Abel Tesfaye, he stated that the female voice on Lonely Star was none other than his own voice, pitch shifted up. On Heaven or Las Vegas, he pronounces, "I've been rewarded with you." And later on, in the same song, he declares himself God. While House of Balloons was a statement about the awareness of his situation, Thursday was commentary about his ascension within the industry. 4 months after Thursday, Echoes of Silence comes along, as the ending to the set of mixtapes that propelled him to stardom. It's a subtly reflective album in which Elangelo and Abel begin to modulate and distort his voice, while at times keeping it untouched. The instrumentalism this time around is a mix between being layered, but is focused. It's more simplified, but with detail. It generates a narrative where he detaches himself from his actions and their consequences. It's a progression of himself where he understands his newfound power and fame. Nearly a year after Echoes of Silence, Trilogy is released as a joint commercial venture between Republic Records and his own label XO.
Yeah.
Now we know who was responsible for the 3 mixtapes, his identity clearly on display on the album art. A remastered compilation of all.
Not gonna lie to y'all. I can see what he's talking about. He changed R&B in a certain way. But I would say personally, this is way left field. The older he get, he should make a movie on all of these mixtapes to all of his albums. Like straight up 2-hour piece movies. The mixtapes get like a hour 20 each. But the actual movies are like the albums. I'd be down to see that. I honestly, or short films, I'd be down to see that too. I know he had a lot of music videos, but music videos only go so far. Films go take it farther. I'd be down to see a Weeknd film for all his, albums, cause a lot of his shit is literally movies in music form. That's what I realized. To me, he changed R&B because he did he it's like how Frank Ocean changed it. They did it their own way and made their style and being like very open and honest popular. You know? And being very transparent popular. We don't get that no more. From a lot of R&B singers, we don't, but from a lot we do. It's like a 50-50 thing.
All 3 mixtapes, plus 3 songs, it's a modern classic despite compromising mostly of repeated taboo topics. Now you have an understanding of what Trilogy is, but what did it do as a whole? It was a piece that was willing to discard the particulars of the R&B genre while retaining its form, using progressive electronic and acoustic elements, and a clear focus on introspection and despair, severely contrasted with the love and heartbreak that dominated the R&B era before. You have to redefine what traditional is when someone non-traditional is getting people's attention. The Weeknd was an artist who defined his own aesthetic and as a result influenced many musicians after him. Trilogy was then much more than an album. It was an exploration into what a singular project can really do.
And personally, I gotta watch Anderson .Paak review before Oxnard. Anderson .Paak, this nigga had a fucking discography. Oh my god, had a fucking discography long as fuck. This motherfucker been making music for the past, I could say fucking decade. This nigga music way back when was slapping. He should have been had Grammys, should have been in movies. He should have been he's a star. He's gonna be an icon when he passed away. Like how Prince is an icon, he's gonna be an icon. Anderson .Paak when he passed away, same thing with The Weeknd. They gonna all be icons, bro. Like we have a lot of icons in our generation like that. They just one of a kind. I'm happy to live in a generation like that, or in this lifetime, let's say. With that being said, I hope y'all enjoyed the video. Peace. Mario the poet.